Hi everyone, it's that time again when you might be starting to think about your year end. The year end process itself is straightforward. It's a simple wizard that includes a few options. However, before this, there's the preparation stage, ensuring you've posted everything, and of course, it involves running reports. But do you understand your reports and also the opportunities that you have to develop them? Ensuring they're accurate, but also that they provide you with the correct level of detail. Throughout January and February, we're running a series of live webinars to help develop your knowledge and understanding of the management reports available in Sage 50 accounts. We'll be starting with the basics, understanding nominal records and the structure of the nominal ledger. This is also ideal if you need to create new nominal codes. Following on from this, we'll examine the chart of accounts looking at all aspects, including adding new layouts and editing existing ones. Our attention then turns to the management reports themselves, the trial balance, the profit and loss, and of course the balance sheet. We'll explain how to run them, what they show, and most importantly, how the figures calculate. We want you to be confident. On the management report session, one of the most common scenarios we're asked about is where you haven't yet run your year end, but need to generate a profit and loss report for your next financial year. We've got your back with this and have a specific webinar that explores the options you have available, whether it's running reports for your new financial year or even a previous one. The last webinar in the series looks at reconciling your age debtors and age creditor reports at year end, ensuring that the balances agree with the figures on your trial balance and the balance sheet. Of course, this could be done at any time, such as part of your month-end process. So come along and we'll demonstrate what to check and how to run them to ensure everything agrees. If you'd like to attend any or all of these sessions to help develop your knowledge and boost your confidence, then simply head along to sage.co.uk/webinars and register for your free place. These, along with loads of other topics, including how to run your year end, are available. See you soon.
Hi everybody! You might be approaching the end of your financial year and it's the perfect time to get your Sage 50 accounts in order. The year-end process itself is simple. It doesn't matter if you're a seasoned pro or if it's your first time, it's just a few steps in the wizard. But before you dive in, there are some important checks and housekeeping tasks that will just make everything run smoothly. Things like archiving your company data just keeps it organised and improves performance. We'll show you how to create an archive and why it's a good habit. Then there's backing up your data, which is essential before making any changes, and we'll share best practice just to ensure your backups are reliable. And avoid accidental postings into a closed period by setting a lock date. It's quick to do and it saves headaches later. We'll also guide you through the year-end wizard as well, step by step, so you can complete the process with confidence. If you need to tidy up older unused records, we'll show you how to do that as well in our Delete Your Records webinar. And then we'll also cover how to clear the audit trail. It can help speed things up and we'll explain when it's appropriate and how to do that safely. So to help you to prepare, we're hosting a series of live webinars throughout January and February. These sessions will give you practical tips and demonstrations so you feel confident about your year end and keep your accounts in great shape. Don't miss this opportunity to start the new year with clean, organised data and peace of mind. Make sure you reserve your spot today at sage.co.uk/webinars, and we look forward to seeing you there.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon, everybody. Hope you're all doing fantastic today. My name is Matt. I'm going to be taking you through today's session, which, as you can see in front of you, is a continuation of the Corrections Digital Badge series, correcting VAT transactions. Going through your VAT settings. Lovely videos there from Michael and Laura to start us off with what's upcoming. That's going to be a new feature under the webinars as well. So if you do tend to join a little bit early, you'll get a little preview of what's coming around the corner. Happy days. Now, If you've been here before, you'll know the rules. If not, these are them. These are the rules. Your microphone is muted automatically. So if you need to cough or sneeze, don't worry. You're not going to interrupt anything that I'm talking about today. Have no fear. You can also send us your questions using that speech bubble and the question mark. We have Michael and Laura at hand today to answer these questions. So keep them busy. They've got their knuckles cracked. They're ready and raring to go. Also, handout is attached to today's webinar as well, one in black and white, one in colour. So if you download that now, it's done. It's impossible to forget. The black and white one is there just in case you're like me and you like to print things off and take notes. I still do that. Oh, pen and paper. But there's also links on there as well that you can click for help and resources on the subject matter at hand. But have no fear. If today you just want to sit down and enjoy the webinar, please feel free to do so, because you will receive a copy of the recording an hour or so after it has concluded. But remember, keep asking those questions. The only question that is silly is the question that remains unasked. Now, the corrections digital badge series, let me put my teeth in there. So far, we've been through customers and suppliers, bank payments, receipts and transfers, journals, and today VAT transactions, VAT transactions, and then the wonderful quiz held by Michael. Maybe a couple of anagrams thrown in there just to see and test your knowledge about what you've learned so far. So register now, get that done and dusted. And remember, you have to attend 3 of the 4 topics, and you must attend the quiz in order to receive that incredible badge. Now, 2 minutes in, let's have a look at what we're covering today. So when it comes to transactions, we're going to look at editing a transaction and deleting a transaction, whether it was reconciled or unreconciled, and what the effects are going to be, and what you potentially need to do, and what the system is going to do for you. Now, hand on heart, it's probably going to be majoritively taken care of by the system, if we're honest, but I'm going to go through a couple of demonstrations of the both just so you can see what you should be looking out for. Then we're going to have a look at VAT journals as well, see what amendments can potentially be made there, and then have a look at manual adjustments on the VAT return as well. So it's all about correcting something, obviously, with the theme being corrections. All the way through, feel free to ask the Q&A. But on that topic, I believe there's no handout available. I'm going to ask one of the chaps if they could upload the handout for me. Yeah, Michael's going to take care of that. Apologies for that one. We'll get that one sorted for you now. But thank you very much for pointing that out. The handout is being uploaded as we speak, and I will notify you when it's there. Superb. But yes, as I say, Q&A all the way through if you can, and then we'll go through the further support at the end. So as we go through it, let's begin. Edit a transaction. So what are we going to be looking at? Well, 2 things that we want to think about when we're editing a transaction, and you've probably heard this before, but let's go over it again. What kind of field are we going to be editing? Critical, non-critical. Now, we've mentioned these all the way through webinars all the time, and we've also gone through the effects of what they could potentially be in certain scenarios. Today, obviously, it's going to be VAT transactions reconciled and reconciled, so I'm not going to dwell too much on this one. Critical, when amended, it requires the original transaction to be cancelled, reversed, and a new one posted. And non-critical amendments can be made with no reversal or cancellation of the original. The first thing we're going to be looking at is editing a non-reconciled or a not reconciled, as it says there on the slide, field. We're going to be looking at the non-critical and the critical. So within non-reconciled, we're looking at non-critical and critical. So non-critical, the original transaction just updates because it has no knock-on effect other than record keeping for you. With the critical, the original transaction updates and a copy of the original transaction details is posted as a deleted transaction to the end of your audit trail. I've just had a thumbs up there from Michael to say the handouts are now loaded up. So I'll give you just a couple of seconds to download those now. And while I'm doing that, we're going to move on to the demonstration, which is going to be on editing a non-reconciled transaction, critical and non-critical field. So let me bring up my program here. Here's one I prepared earlier. The company I'm working for is called VAT Corrections. Look at that. And then I'm going to float down to the transactions section here. I'm going to point out a couple of things for you. So first off, you've got many, many different options of what you can look at and what you should be looking out for. Obviously, transaction number, the transaction type, the account. Over here is where I'll draw your attention to. VAT column. N for not reconciled, R for reconciled. Bob's your uncle. So that's what I would be looking for. That's one of the key points to look out when you go to look at editing or deleting anything. Now, the first transaction I'm going to focus on here is transaction 1, bank receipt, just at the top here. And as you can see, it's non-reconciled. Now, there's two ways to get here, and both roads lead to Rome. You can either edit after highlighting up here, or right-click and edit there. You will, beg your pardon, the screen flickered there, receive a message that says you're about to amend a transaction that was posted in the previous financial year, but that is because I haven't run my year-end. Apologies. What will happen then is the details of the transaction will appear on the screen in front of you. And this is where remembering your non-critical and critical field comes in handy. Now I'm going to be doing a non-critical field. I'm just going to be doing the details or the description or the reference. So if I put in here, further, details, and I'm just going to put test this so we can all see it. I'm going to hit close, save. Do I want to post these changes? Yes. As you can see, test this appears here. And because, again, it's non-critical, nothing's going to be changing, I'm just updating how it looks, essentially. There's no knock-on effect. So again, I'll go the other way, click edit. Go to edit further. I'm just going to delete this. Click close, click save, post these changes, correct. There we are, all changed. Nice and simple to start off with. Nice and simple. So if we come to transaction 2, again, we can see VAT, it's not reconciled. But at this point, what I'm going to do is just change the date. So right click, edit. What I can do here, it was posted a day early. I'm just going to change that to 19th. I'm going to click save. Yes, I do, because I haven't run my financial year. Do I want to post these changes? There we have it. So you can see now, this is the transaction that was cancelled. The original date there was the 18th. I changed the date to the 19th, and the correct transaction has taken its place. But this, highlighted in red, or written in red, should I say, not highlighted, is there for the audit trail, for the audit purposes. So transaction 2 is still transaction 2. It's just been updated to the 19th. The now changed transaction, the incorrect transaction, it's been popped down to transaction 7, highlighted in red, and it tells me where to look, cancel C-Tran 2. There we are. Nice and easy. Nice and easy. So just to recap on there, edit a transaction when it is non-reconciled and a non-critical field, and the critical fields pretty much simple, stays within the program. No notification needed to anybody. Now, when it is reconciled, that's where it's a bit of a change, because you've notified somebody already, HMRC or ROS, of the transaction. Money may have changed hands because of said transaction. So there's two different ways in which to notify them. So we've got the non-critical field, which again, the original transaction just updates, and then you've got the critical field. It's the same rules apply, but with a little bit of a difference. Let me show you what I mean. So back to my data here. And the first thing that we're going to be looking at here, again, is transaction 3. Note that this is reconciled. and I'm going to edit a non-critical field. Again, click on edit here, and I'm going to do the same as exactly what I did last time, just so you can see the difference. Bring the details across. Sorry, my mouse is being a bit funny here. There we are. So if I put test this, and I click close and save and post, it is reconciled, but nothing has changed. Again, because it's not a critical field. So to change this again, just to emphasize the point, I'm going to do it off screen now just for sake of speed for you all. Click save, deleted the details. There we have it. Details have gone. Nothing has changed because non-critical. Now, changing a critical field. So if I go to transaction 5 here, I'm going to pick on number 5 because it's a sales invoice. If I want to make a critical field change, click edit. And let's say I want to change the amount. So I want to change the net amount here to 100. And the tax amount was 20. It was a mistype on my fault here. You see, these are grayed out, these screens here. But if I click edit, it'll let me further into the transaction, the sales invoice. And this is where I can make the changes to the net and to the tax. In this instance, for the demonstration, I'm keeping it nice and simple. So I'll just get rid of one of the zeros of each. Obviously, I've already informed somebody, the HMRC or ROS, of these amounts. So when I click close and I click save, it's going to ask me if I wish to post these changes. Yes. And that was on a reconciled transaction. As you can see, it's posted, it's credited off the SI, the sales credit there. And it's told us to see transaction 5. And it's posted the new one here. 120 there. And now that is not reconciled anymore because I haven't reconciled this in a VAT return. So HMRC are unaware of it. And the correction that we've got here, they need to be notified of, and they will be on the next VAT return. So if I was to click on VAT and run a dummy return, let me say, let me unhighlight that. That's a popular call. I would always make sure this is unhighlighted. Click VAT return. It opens a fresh VAT return. If I was to click calculate, what would then happen is these are the new transactions that I need to consider sending to HMRC. So there was the correction, the sales credit that credited off the original 1,000 net and 200 tax right there. So I'm notifying the powers that be. I've credited that off because it was an error, and I'm notifying them then the transaction number 9. These were the correct figures. All we have to do here is click include, and that will be included on the VAT return. Hopefully that makes sense. And if you want a record of it, as I'm sure you remember from when we go through the VAT preparation and submission webinars, you'll know you can print, or if you want to investigate, you can go to and send to Excel and have a look. Because at any time that you do a VAT return, you should only ever have transactions in here that you are willing to include. If you ever click ignore, it means that they shouldn't be there. So my recommendation would be to send them to Excel and investigate those transactions, because you can't just select one or two to include. When you click include, it includes whatever is in this list. For now, though, that was just a demonstration. I'm going to close out of that. I'm just going to lose the calculation. Have no fear, don't worry. Back to transactions and back to the slides. So that was editing a reconciled transaction. So your next VAT return will identify the reversal and add the new transaction as earlier unreconciled transactions, as you can see in the screenshot on the right-hand side and what I've just demonstrated for you there as well. And they will be included in your report because you want to show the correction. You want to notify people of this because maybe you owe money for it, or maybe you owe money for it. You want to keep everything aligned and in order. So that's editing a reconciled and editing a non-reconciled transaction on both fields of critical and non-critical. What about deletion? So obviously, same rules apply as in not reconciled and reconciled, and there is different outcomes for both. Very much the same and the same kind of mechanics as you would see from editing a transaction, because you can never truly delete a reconciled transaction, and I'll move on to that when I go through the demonstration. You can only ever reverse it and submit the correction, you see. So with non-reconciled, deleting a transaction, the transaction deletes, shown in red on the transactions list with the details deleted. There's no adjustment to your next VAT return. When you delete a reconciled transaction, as I said before, they can't simply be deleted, they have to be reversed. And these are the screens that we're going to see in the demonstration. Do you wish to reverse this transaction? Yes. The system is going to take care of all of this for you. You just need to make sure that what you're inputting is correct. That's about it. Let us go through the demonstration then. Here we are. My transactions list, and what we're going to do is first off we're going to click on transaction 4, sales invoice. All the way along I would check here, VAT reconciled, N. So the answer is no. Again, there are 2 roads to do this, both lead to Rome. So you've got delete up here, we've got right click and delete here. If I was to do the right click and delete option, it's going to again raise the details of the transaction. If I'm confident I wish to delete, click delete. Do you wish to delete the transaction? Yes. As you'll see, it hasn't moved anywhere. It is now just highlighted in red. The reason it doesn't move anywhere is because there's no reversal, there's no cancel, see transaction X, Y, or Z. It's purely just being input by error or no longer needed in the instance it was incorrect in the first place, and it's being deleted. Nice and easy. Now, if we turn our attention to transaction 3, bank receipt for account 1200, and we'll go 4000, has been reconciled. The amount of £300 and tax is 60. If I was to just delete this transaction, because again, it was input completely in error, wasn't a mistype of anything, it just shouldn't have been there. Still get the detail of the transactions itself, click delete, and there it is. Do you wish to reverse this transaction? Yes. So what's going to happen there? That is going to maintain its color as black, but what we're doing is reversing the transaction here. So this is now going to be included on the VAT return, and it's going to notify HMRC or ROS of the fact that we've reversed this transaction. So the transaction itself isn't to be deleted or moved anywhere because it's part of the audit. What is going to be included now is the new transaction that corrects that transaction. So if I was to run another VAT return for you here, what we will now see is that transaction included there. Correction of the net and the tax. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to close this again because I'm not going to be running the VAT return. Just as we can see again with the summary of what we've just done there, you can see that deleting that transaction, your next VAT return will identify the reversal as an earlier reconciled transaction, and that is to be included in your return to report the correction again. So in this box here, not to hammer the point home, but in this box here should only ever be transactions that you want included. If you find yourself clicking ignore, there's a reason for that. Investigate that transaction because it may need corrected or deleted in another way for it not to be sent as a report. Nice, clean record keeping. Now, with VAT cash accounting, it depends on the transaction type, payment status, and if it has been VAT reconciled. It's a possible workaround for it. Customer and supplier got the transactions allocate and delete on that one. So that's why we've listed the workarounds for you there. And any reversal and or new transactions should obviously be included on the next return as well. Superb. Now moving on to something, well, not completely different, but just something different to VAT cash is your VAT journals. So first thing to note, to appear on a VAT return, anything in a journal must have a VATable tax code, i.e. T1. T9s aren't going to be picked up. And if you do want it to be picked up and shown on your reports that you send across, then it has to be a taxable or a VATable tax code. So T1 is the best example that I've got here. What we're going to do is we're going to have a look at an example, which is the sale of an asset. So if you make a mental note of these amounts, we'll have a look on the program in just a moment. But a mental note here is you've got your sale of an asset. Let's pretend it's a car for £8,333.33. And to send to your tax control account, 2,200 in this instance, £1,666.67. So only the two lines there of this journal affect the VAT return, right at the bottom. There we have it. How do these affect your return boxes? Well, as you can see here, the £1,666.67 is going to affect box 1. Therefore, it is displayed in box 3 and in box 5. Whereas the £8,333.33, the sale of the asset, is recorded in box 6. Now, how do we edit those journals now? I'm going to go over to my program here. I've set this up as a recall, one of the functions that we have. So if I go to nominal quote, journal entry, and I recall, and this is where you see if my Blue Peter skills have worked for the one that I prepared earlier. There it is there. Sale of asset. I'm going to load up this journal. And as you can see, in this instance, when the journal has been created, incorrect tax code has been used. So these tax codes aren't going to be picked up on the VAT return. But in the slides, they were, and that's because the tax code had been changed. So what we want to do here is change it to whatever code it needs to be. It should be T1. A little bit of a display issue going on there. It's because I'm using too many screens. I'll close out of that one there. Yeah, unfortunately, I've got 4 different screens plugged at the moment, so I'm having a bit of an issue in showing you that one. But you would change it to T1 and T1 on the other one, and then it would update in your transactions as well. And you'll be able to see that correction. And again, it's going to be included when you run your new VAT return and sent across automatically for you. The same rules apply always. Where the VAT return, once it's run, will give you the option to include or ignore. You include. Why wouldn't you? You want to report it. I'm gonna have to have a look at that little display issue there. It's bugging me now. But yes, that would be the VAT journals, and that would be for the UK. For ROI, these are the boxes that it would affect. So you're up here for the 1667, and we're down here for the 8,333. You can't edit these. These are total boxes, so you can't edit those whatsoever. So the main ones that you want to have a look at the top and at the bottom there. Now, onto the easy one. Well, I feel it's an easy one. This is the making adjustments, and this is where you use the VAT return wizard to your advantage. So when you calculate your VAT return, if you're required, you can obviously make adjustments. As you can see on the right-hand side then, I'm going to run, this is why I haven't run the VAT return until now. I'm going to run one shortly for you to display it. So you've got the make adjustments and the add attachments. Now, you're making adjustments is you quite literally making that adjustment, whether it be an instruction or a mistype or whatever it might be. The reason for making that adjustment is very unique to yourself. But let's pretend in this instance, the example I'm going to demonstrate, it's an email or a letter from HMRC that says, oh, could you put £100 on your next return? Okay, thank you very much. That's what we're going to be demonstrating. And that's what these buttons are there for, is for you to make those adjustments yourself, rather than having to type in the transactions or anything like that at all. You can directly update the return. So, should we have a look at that then? And then we'll have a look at the slides. If I went to run my VAT return here, again, forgive me for how quickly I'm going to be doing this, but I'm just going to include all these ones that I've made. It's calculated my VAT. I've had a look and I've thought, well, actually, no, I need to make adjustments. I would click on the make adjustments and it would bring up this box here. All the valuable boxes. Now, I'm going to make my adjustment of £100 in the relevant box, which is VAT box 1. I'm going to click on the pencil. It will bring up the VAT manual adjustments box, reason, HMRC instruction, mind my typing. I'm going to tab across, I'm going to put £100 on. If it was a take away £100, Fandabby Dozy, I would put a minus in front of there. But in this instance, it's a miserable plus 100. So I'm going to click save. And you can see that adjustment has been made there. I'm going to click close. And what I'm going to do in this instance is I'm going to attach maybe a scan or a screenshot of the email. Now, your attachments don't get sent to HMRC or ROS, okay? So these are for you. These are for you in a couple of years' time, or if you're having an audit. Why have you done that? Well, look right here, and it'll show you exactly what is there, be it a picture, be it whatever it may be. But that is where I would attach that email or that screenshot or that print or the PDF document, whatever it could be. I would put it there. And then I would simply follow the rules and go all the way through the VAT return. Nice and simple. Close out of that. Back to the slides. So to summarize on the making adjustments, you've got your edit icon here, which is the pencil. The adjustments can be a positive or they can be a negative. And posting adjustment will create a journal between the VAT liability 2202 and manual adjustments 2204. They're the default nominal codes. If you have designed your own nominal codes, they may be different, just an FYI. And then obviously the supporting documents can be attached to the VAT return as well. Nice and simple. So on that, so far, do we have any questions? Michael started juggling in the corner, so I think it might be quite quiet on the questions front. Superb. All done and dusted. Brilliant. If you've got any questions, ask them now. And we've got 30 seconds. What I'll do until then is show you that the useful links that are there. So Michael's updated the handouts. Thank goodness he was here. So you can click on those links and it'll take you straight to those Help Centre articles. Not only that, up and coming webinars across the whole of Sage, 50 accounts and 50 payroll, as well as some HR webinars as well. Sage.co.uk/webinars. Get yourself involved. What you could do as well, if you can't find what you're looking for, as you two sang, you could send us your recommendations on the survey at the end there. Sorry, I'm having a bit of a smile at that one. So if you could take a minute just to complete that survey, let us know what you want covered in future sessions. Let us know what went well so we can include it, what didn't go well so we can potentially change it. All of your thoughts. We read as a department, we read absolutely every single comment that is sent in because it's important that we move forward off these comments. So they're always, always, always heard. But on that note, we are now at 2:30. What I'm going to do is bring the webinar to a close. Thank you all for your ears and attendance. I hope you have wonderful weeks. And if you need anything at all, just reach out and let us know on the feedback form. That would be superb. But apart from that, I'm going to leave you to it. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good one. Bye for now.